Equity, mate.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.
Welcome to another episode of Equity Mates, a podcast where we help you learn to invest in 45 minutes or less. We break down the world of investing from beginning to dividend so that you can hopefully make some returns. My name's Bryce, and as always, I'm joined by my equity buddy, Ren. How's it going, bro?
I'm good, Bryce.
That's good. Well, without further ado...
Well, mate, we're busy. I'm too busy to give you a full spiel.
Funny you say that, Ren, because today's episode is all about investing when life gets busy. Now, you are busy, I'm busy, we're investing. That's the end of the episode.
Just make time.
Yeah, busy people make things happen. No. We've had a number of questions come in from our community over the last few months all around things like, I don't have time to be sitting down researching stocks. I feel pressured to be doing so, or I feel like I should be investing, but I'm focusing on other financial aspects in my life. Should I be paying off my mortgage? Should I be investing? Now, we're not here to give any sort of financial advice along those lines, but what we thought we'd do with this episode is just touch on a few ways that you can still maintain your, rhythm and access to the markets without needing to sit down and do discounted cash flow models and feel like that you need to spend hours each week researching stocks and individual stock picking. There are a number of ways that you can continue to invest or get started in the markets without having to do all that and still maintain a busy lifestyle.
Yeah, and I mean, if I can start with a personal thing, and probably goes to attitude that everyone has, like however much time you dedicate to investing, you will always feel like you don't have enough time to do what you really should. Like we literally do an investing podcast and I constantly lament that I don't have time to do enough research. And I bet you that...
Constantly. Ringing me every day. Texting me. I want to do more.
It's more internal than that. But the more you do, the more you realize how much time other people have. And I would bet, and I would bet Warren Buffett reads 500 pages a day as he does, just churns through content. Just all he does is research. But I bet you even he thinks, like, if only I had more time, I would be able to make better decisions. I would know more. I'd be able to be across more companies. And if that's not the case, Warren, come onto the show and refute it.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the beauty of investing, especially today, is that there's a lot of tools that can shorten the process, and we're going to get into a lot of them. But I think from a general attitude point of view, however much time you can dedicate to it, you're going to want to be able to dedicate more. And so I don't have a good answer for that. Like, I'm going through that. I feel that way a lot, but I think it's just worth realizing that don't feel like because you can't dedicate enough time to it, you shouldn't do it, because however much time you can dedicate, you're going to feel like it's not enough.
Yeah. And to that point, Ren, I think regardless of how busy you are or even what level of confidence you have when it comes to accessing the market and starting your investing journey, it's something that I believe with the technology and products available, it's something that you should avoid putting off. Really, time is on your side when it comes to the markets. The sooner you can get in, the better. So we're going to run through a few practical ways in which you can invest in the markets when life does get busy.
Yeah, and I'm going to just completely lib a term here that we haven't discussed or anything.
Hold on, are you coining a term?
Well, not so much a term, but I like the Instagram effect that we all talk about, where we see, the best parts of people's lives, and there's that sort of, like aspiration, but it's unrealistic. It's probably the same in investing. Like what we see online, what we read in investor letters is the Instagram influencer equivalent in investing. It's like the cherry-picked best stocks, cherry-picked best examples of when they've done due diligence and when they've done research, and we extrapolate that out and think that that's what they're doing all the time. But we're just, we're all running our own race, and you don't have to be the Instagram influencer equivalent of an investor. You don't have to be smashing 25% plus returns for 20 years every year to be a good investor and to make money. Average returns are fine over a long period of time, and it's definitely better than no returns over no period of time. So yeah, don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. Average is great in investing.
Absolutely. You want to be You know the story that I tell of the bus driver who walked into his financial advisor when he was at the end of his career, and the financial advisor sort of sat down and thought, okay, well, old mate's probably going to have his house and that's about it. And lo and behold, he turns around and shows the financial advisor that he has about a $2.5 million portfolio in shares, and it completely blew the financial advisor away. He said, how'd you do it? And this bus driver just said that over 25 or 30 years he'd been putting stocks into money into listed investment companies and the like, and over a long period of time that grew and grew and grew. So you don't need, to your point, Ren, to be the influencer of investing to get it sorted.
When you say the story that you always tell, is that a story that you've just made up to prove your point?
No, that is not a story that I just made up. I'm not that creative, Ren. So before we get into some practical ways, I think there's a couple of things that we should address before talking about some ways in which you can get started in the markets when life is busy. The first is to think about prioritizing and getting your money sorted first. It's good to have a strong financial base when it comes to how you're treating your debt, making sure that you have things like your emergency fund, and you know where your money is going, so that way you can feel at least more comfortable about investing, rather than feeling scared that the money you are putting into the markets might need to go towards an emergency later on, or you should be paying off your credit card but you want to be putting things into the markets. It's important to get your money sorted first, build that financial base, and then you're going to feel better about investing.
And when you say get your money sorted and build a financial base, do you mean a certain dollar figure base?
Not necessarily. Like if you are after looking to build your emergency fund, then for me that's sort of 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. But in terms of having a nest egg of money to then go and invest, I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about making sure your debt's under control, making sure you are not putting all of your money into the markets and leaving yourself high and dry.
Yeah, getting your money sorted is an attitude thing.
Absolutely.
Have being in control.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then with that, I think, comes developing good habits, Ren. I think, you don't want to stress about investing all the time. You don't want to be stressing about putting money into the markets. It can be a stressful thing to do, even if you had a heap of money. So if you're saving for things like a wedding, life expenses, sometimes it's good to just focus on that and not freak out about needing to put money in the markets as well.
I thought the attitude was cancel the wedding, get married at City Hall. Do we have City Hall in Australia or at a court? And live like a monk until you're 50 and let compounding take effect, and then live your life.
Yeah. If you want to get married Ren's way, that's how you do it. However, my only sort of caveat to that comment is that whilst you are saving for these life events, I still think it's important personally to try and always put even the smallest amount away to invest. Doesn't have to be into the stocks, but just put it into an account somewhere, even as little as $10, because it just keeps you in that habit of putting money away to invest, which at the end of the day is crucially important to build that habit.
So we've just spoken about getting your money sorted and getting into good habits, but what if you're too busy to even do that?
I don't think you should ever be too busy to spend 10 minutes when you get your paycheck to sit down and put away some money. And this is where I guess automation, when it comes to your bank account, can really help. It doesn't take long to set up some automated transfers. It doesn't take long just to, I guess, reconcile where you're at. If you can set up automated transfers when your pay comes in, you don't even have to do anything. You can just let it all spread out to your accounts and away you go.
If you don't want to spend, an hour going through your old bank transactions, potentially a really straightforward way to do it is for one pay cycle. So if you get paid every fortnight, or, if you get paid every month, for one pay cycle, try and minimize your expenses. Don't go crazy on nights out. Don't go crazy eating out, but also don't live like a monk. That can sort of give you a baseline of how much you spend each pay cycle. And then once you know that, then it's just whenever you get paid, just leaving that in your spending account and transferring the rest out straight away. And that's a pretty easy way that doesn't take much time to get into a bit of discipline, get your money sorted. And so that's what I try and do, because I'm, one, busy, but two, and more importantly, I'm lazy. And so I have a pretty good idea of how much I need to spend each pay cycle. And then whenever I get paid, I transfer some into a savings account, which is like an emergency fund, and then the rest into my brokerage accounts straight away. And so that alone, without, doing the 600 tab spreadsheet with massive formulas and macros that Bryce runs every pay,
Not true.
I have a pretty quick and dirty way of having okay money habits and, sort of controlling how much I spend, controlling how much I save, controlling how much I invest. So it doesn't have to be an extra step. It can just be having a good knowledge of how much you need to spend, what your rent is, what the bills are, all that stuff. And then just getting other money out of your account when you get paid straight away.
So, Ren, we've just touched on one of the first practical ways to help you invest when the life gets busy, and that is automation. Automation is key. So the first key point is automate your deposits. As Ren said, into your brokerage account or wherever it is. It takes the hassle out of thinking about it. So automate as much as you can. The beauty with some of the technology and apps these days is that you can automate straight into markets as well, which we'll touch on in a second. But when it comes to automation, Ren, and investing, a lot of people probably don't consider that their superannuation, you actually are investing.
The most automated way to do it.
Exactly. So if you're not putting personal sort of additional contributions into super or even investing in the market, just keep in the back of your mind that at the end of the day, you still are getting exposure to the markets through your superannuation. It's the easiest way to think about investing when life gets busy. But then the caveat to that is make sure you engage with your superannuation fund. Log in, have a look, make sure you're set up with the right sort of risk profile. If you're young, you can probably afford to have a bit more of an aggressive approach than if you're in your 50s and 60s. Make sure that you're paying the right fees. Make sure you have a look at what insurance you're paying as well, because all these things add up. If you're not going to be investing additionally in the markets, don't fret. Superannuation is the most automated way you can be investing, but make sure you're across it and are aware of what you are investing in and paying when it comes to fees.
Yeah, 100%. So in terms of automating your decisions, is there anything else that we can do?
Yeah, so there's awesome micro-investing apps that we've spoken a lot about on the show, Ren. You can set up direct debits from your account into these apps, Raise, Voyager.
Yeah, Spaceship Voyager. What's
Voyager,
the CommBank one?
and there's
Pocket. Yeah.
Pocket. So you can set up direct debits to come out of your account into these apps, and they will invest them directly into their portfolios for you. Also think about things like robo-advisors and financial planners. Robo-advisors, again, you can set up a portfolio with them, BPay them, or have some sort of automated payments to them, and then they will act on your behalf and invest in a portfolio of ETFs or LICs or whatever it may be.
So to summarize, this is for people who have no time, literally zero time. They can stop here.
Yes.
Because everything we've spoken about so far requires no thought once it's set up. It is literally hit the go button and just let it run. You automatically depositing more in your super. You're automatically transferring stuff out of your wherever you get paid into a microfinance account, into a robo-advisor, or into an account that will invest automatically. And then it will just do its thing. And then you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. You can spend your other time on whatever you're busy doing. So that's probably the first step, which is for people that think they have no time to invest. It's how you automate it.
That's the no excuse.
That is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And then the next one, it's like, okay, you're busy, but you might have a tiny bit of time, and enough time to do a couple of quick transfers every month, or put a trade in, one evening before you go to bed a month sort of thing. So let's call this the almost no time bucket.
So this is the almost no time bucket / bucket for people who want to have a few inputs into their investing decisions, but at the end of the day, don't want to make too many.
Yes.
Bucket.
Okay.
So the first thing that comes to mind for me is Vanguard have a number of great products, but let's go back a step. We're talking about products like ETFs, exchange-traded funds, listed investment companies, and fund managers. So this is where you can have a very initial approach around sort of what you want to be investing in, but then still let someone else or the product do the work for you. For example, we can take Vanguard. They have a number of funds that are off-market. You can invest directly through their website, $5,000 to sign up and to start. But then from there, you can BPay as little as $100 in whenever you want. All you need to do is choose what fund you want. That's the only choice you need to make. Can take 10 minutes if you want. I'd suggest spending a little bit more time than that.
No, they don't have much time. So, and don't go too esoteric. There's big, broad-based market funds that you don't have to spend too much time thinking about.
Yep. So you can set up payments and away you go. Shut your eyes and go.
Now, because we're not sponsored by Vanguard, and in the interest of fairness, Vanguard aren't the only fund manager that offer a similar service. There are investment managed funds and other products that also offer a similar functionality where after your initial deposit, you can generally BPay or transfer in smaller amounts whenever you want.
Yes.
So don't think they're the only one. They're obviously the biggest one, and they're big for a reason. They're low fee and all of that. But there's options out there. But if you don't have much time and you're rushing to make a decision, then maybe you don't have time to research them all.
And then the advantage with exchange traded funds and listed investment companies are they are simple investments that you can make through the Australian Stock Exchange without having to go too deep into single stock analysis. All you need to do is think about, what theme you want to be investing in, or is there a particular fund manager that you like, and you can diversify and invest that way. So not a lot of time needed to be investing in LICs and ETFs.
And this is probably where we introduce a concept that we've spoken about on the podcast before, but it's worth just always keeping in mind, which is dollar cost averaging. And if you don't have much time, don't worry about what the broader market is doing. You don't have time to Google ASX 200 or S&P 500.
Probably don't have time to open your phone.
You probably don't have time to look up what are in those indexes, let alone what's driving them. It doesn't matter what the broader market is doing. There's all these cliched sayings. It's about time in the market, not timing the market and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there's a reason that those sayings always get trotted out. And it's just that if you're just consistently putting a consistent amount of money in the market at regular intervals, you will sometimes buy the ETF or the managed fund or the index fund or whatever it is. Or even if you just decide you've got a list of individual stocks that's going to be what you buy at every interval. Sometimes you'll buy them when they're expensive. Sometimes you'll buy them when they're cheap. But over time, that will average out. It doesn't matter. Don't stress out about that. Don't stress out about, buying at the right time. Just get in the right habits, get consistent, and things will work out over the long period of time.
Yeah. So we've touched on you've got zero time, you've got a small amount of time.
Yes.
Now we should touch on, what if you do find yourself on the weekend with a little bit more than not much time?
I think this is I spend a bit of time on my phone that could be reallocated into more productive use category.
Yes,
especially you with your bloody TikTok obsession of late.
TikTok's going to be huge, Renan.
It is going to be huge.
I want 1 million followers.
Bryce has been doing all the TikTok dances. He's got the Renegade dance and all the other ones. It's big in the Equity Mates community.
It's going to be huge. You're right, Ren. If you have time to scroll through social media, you do have time to invest. You could be scrolling through some stocks or some news. I would suggest spending some time on that. But what if you do find some time? I think one thing you can do is to invest in what you love. Now, that's probably a cliche term, but it just means you're going to be more motivated to invest. It's going to keep you interested and keep you investing in sort of companies that you enjoy and want to track. There's nothing worse than investing in a company that you don't understand, you're not interested in. You're unlikely to spend time doing it. If you have not a lot of time to begin with, you're probably going to spend it on scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or whatever it may be. So if you do have a little bit of time, think about investing in companies that you love. You're probably going to find yourself more interested.
Yeah, now you probably don't have time to read this book, but that style of investing in what you know and investing in what you love is what Peter Lynch was sort of made famous for. He wrote the famous book that you probably don't have time to read, One Up on Wall Street. So maybe just Google the book, read the Wikipedia. But that's his style of investing, and that's sort of what made him a great fund manager. Look, I think for people that even don't have a lot of time, you would be surprised how much time you spend interacting with these companies, which in itself is research. If you don't have much time because you're on social media all the time, you're scrolling through social media that's pumping you ads and is making them money. Think about which social media you're using. Like if you're not using Snapchat and you're using, we keep going to TikTok. If you're using TikTok heaps of time, maybe ByteDance when it lists is the investment that you think is going to do really well. Or if you don't have much time because you're working really hard at a pub, think about what beers you're pouring. Think about what wines you're pouring. Think about if people are over beer and they're only buying Canadian Club. Like, if you're working in retail and you're at a Westfield, look at how many people are in your shop. Look at the shops around you. Like, you would be surprised how much time you spend doing other things that you don't think are investing related are specifically investing related. A great market researcher. So yeah, I think even if you don't feel like you have enough time, you probably are learning more than you would think, and then it's just about applying that knowledge to make money in the stock market.
Absolutely, Ren. So to summarize what we've spoken about, I think firstly, regardless of how busy you are, there are opportunities to invest in the market, and do not put it off and put it in that too hard basket. There's plenty of ways in which you can access the market. Make sure you prioritize, get your money sorted, and develop good habits. Think about ways in which you can automate your money habits and then automate your investing choices and decisions. There's plenty of opportunities and products out there to help you do that. If you do have a little bit of time, think about ETFs, LICs, and fund managers. And then to Ren's point, be just a bit more conscious of how you're interacting with companies. And before you know it, you'll probably have a short list of companies that you can think about investing in without having to sit down and go through annual reports and that sort of stuff. So I hope that put people at ease if they feel like they're too busy to be investing. Certainly Ren and I both live pretty busy lives, and we're not sitting down doing discounted cash flow models or anything like that. A lot of the things that we've spoken about today, we practically use ourselves.
So maybe to close it out, let's say some things that if you are extremely busy, that you will never have to do, that you can just put out of your mind in terms of actually, getting started investing. You never have to do a valuation. You never have to buy an individual company's stock. You never have to read an analyst report or a company's annual report. You never have to go on an earnings call. You never have to watch the day-to-day movements of the market. All of this stuff, we talk about it sometimes because we enjoy it and we make time for it, but you don't have to do that to start investing. You can literally automate it so you're buying the 500 biggest American stocks, the 200 biggest Australian stocks. Hell, you can automate it so you're buying the MSCI World Index, which is basically a basket of stocks from around the world. And you can just put it out of your mind and not think about it, but trust that you've invested in a whole bunch of companies that are trying to hire the smartest people, trying to innovate new products and trying to expand into new markets. And that is a lot more productive than putting it in the bank earning 1% interest for 40 years. So yeah, don't think that everything we speak about on the show you need to do, because what we speak about on the show is far less than what, a professional investor speaks about on their podcast, which is far less than, what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger do in Omaha. So there's always degrees to this thing, but the fact of the matter is that the stock market, as we like to trot out, has been the greatest wealth creating vehicle that history has ever known, and it's worth getting exposed to that however much time you can put into it.
I know when Ren's passionate when he puts in hell.
Well, that's what we do this podcast for.
Absolutely. Well, I can't follow up anything more to what you've just said, Ren. Couldn't agree more. We'll leave it there. Always good to chat stocks, and looking forward to chatting next week.
Nice one. I'm probably too busy for next week, actually.
Thanks for listening to Equity Mates Investing Podcast, a production of Equity Mates Media. Please remember that everything you hear in Equity Mates Investing Podcast is general advice only. The content has been prepared without knowing your personal objectives, specific financial circumstances, or goals. The host of Equity Mates Investing Podcast may maintain positions in the companies discussed. Before considering any investment, please read the product disclosure statement and consider speaking to a licensed financial professional.